All right. Sorry, a little bit late, 54 seconds. Today's the big happy FOMC day. Who knows what will happen? Well, pretty sure we know it's going to be a quarter point cut. I'll get to that later. Anyway, this is no more paper trading, pre-market wake up with Frank. That would be me. Again, we have a massive audience of 0. But I don't do it for others. I do it for me. And I'm going to keep telling myself that. For real, doing all this, it helps me to prepare other things in my trading. It makes me wake up really early and work very hard. I have actually now started working late into the night. By the time I actually do start making money, I could probably say my hourly rate would be like $5 an hour. But it's how you know you really like it. Anyway, as I go live, building permits just came out. Housing starts are pretty low. Let's take a look at that. Numbers don't really matter too much to me. It's the reaction that counts. And there really wasn't much of a reaction. There is a slight uptick in volume, but it's been growing. I guess you could say that's from the news. I'm not sure if the Fed even looks at that. I doubt they would for today. It's too late. Anyway, that's at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. FOMC decision. I still haven't decided if I'm going to go flat in my longer term positions. I think I won't. I think I'll just make sure I'm at 2 p.m. that I'm watching. Maybe put in a stop so I can at least take some profits. We'll see. I will not be trading futures pretty much at all today. I have to go to work. I have a job to do later on today. And I cannot wait until I'm profitable enough in trading that I can just stop taking side jobs. All right, let's take a look at overnight moves. I'll maybe ramble about FOMC a little bit later. Not much to say. I try to keep away from philosophical thoughts about the Fed. It is what it is. There'll always be ways to make money in the markets. No matter which way it's going, no matter who's controlling the money. But ES, overnight. Not much going on. Didn't really care about yesterday's close. Paid attention to it, but couldn't find buyers there. Enough buyers anyway. Sharp decrease at 4 a.m. again. That happened the night before as well. Yeah, around 4 a.m. And I think the night before that too. That would have been, yeah, Sunday night. You know what? I'm sick of speculating on that. I'm going to see what happens at 4 a.m. Is that when, maybe I'll ask on TradingView. People are very nice about answering my dumb questions. Because Google sucks anymore. You can't ask a question to Google. You'll get some AI answer that's usually very wrong. The only thing I use AI successfully for is coding things, and even then it's gotten worse and worse. I mean, that's just my personal experience. But if I was just going off of my personal experience, I would probably short the entire market. At least the NASDAQ, which is overblown because of the AI hype. Maybe Nvidia. Nvidia would be a good idea to short at some point. But I've been down that rabbit hole before where I short something and it's too soon and I can't take the pain, and then I get out, and then as soon as I get out, it crashes. Because you can't put a measure on hype. You can't put a measure on stonks go up. Because they'll just keep going up quicker than you can take the pain. Anyway, what the heck goes on around 4 a.m. that brings in this volume? So I do know Asia markets open at 8 p.m. Let me look that up. No, not that. You know what? It might be the Asia close. How do I, time conversion? I'm drawing a blank on how to find this information. Just bear with me. Alright, search for a city. Let's do New York, New York. And Hong Kong. Yeah, that would be the close. Because right now, because we're in daylight savings time, or we're out of daylight savings, one of the two. So half the time we are opposite of Hong Kong, meaning 8 a.m. here is 8 p.m. there. At least Eastern Standard Time. But that doesn't make sense for the... Okay, Tokyo opens at 8 p.m. Hong Kong and Shanghai, they open at... Geez, I just had this written down. But then that would track that 4 a.m. would be 4 p.m. for them, which is the Asia close. So that could be traders who want to keep trading roll into the futures markets. I think I figured it out. I will still ask TradingView and see what other people think about it. Just on a rant here, I don't like TradingViews. I like the idea of being able to chat about stocks, and not like stock twits. Stock twits sucks. It's just, I don't get it. I don't get the mentality of, it's like a sports team. Like you have the Bulls and the Bears and they're fighting. It's just silly. So I like TradingView's idea on it more for traders, but their implementation is pretty bad. Just as an example, they have, so you have just like a chat room. Different chat rooms. You have oil chat, you have gold chat, you have S&P 500 chat. But then to confuse things, there's minds, something they call minds. You go to speak your mind, and then you go there and it says, well, you're speaking your mind. I just posted earlier, specifically on this futures contract. But I've seen these posts correlate to other contracts, to other products, to the SPY. So it's unclear that if I post here, will people on the SPY mind, will they see it? I don't think so, but I don't know. It's a mess. And because of that, you get people posting in all these different places. You sometimes go hours without anyone posting. A lot of these rooms are quite dead. When I know there's probably thousands of people trading the micros on TradingView. And then on top of that, you have ideas, which is another strange thing. It's like I guess you can call it like a tweet. I don't really know what a tweet is, but it seems like that's what it is. You post an idea, but that idea is tied to different contracts, different stocks, but separate from mines somehow. A lot of it doesn't really make any sense. And it's not one of those things like where the first time I saw Twitter, it didn't make any sense to me. But over time, it did. It's still dumb in my opinion. I don't see, it doesn't make sense for me to want to do that, but I could understand how it works. There's no getting around it. And I really hope they improve it at some point. But we'll see. All right, ran over. Let's take a look at the overnights. Right now it seems like we can't get over yesterday's close. But we also don't want to go below yesterday's low in the overnight. This is why I usually like trading the overnight. Price will often respect the key areas of the normal trading hours. Let's take a look. NASDAQ, not much different. The same boat as ES. Except that the opening range low is right near the close. I don't think that, yeah, so it is kind of on the ES. But again, that influx of volume at 4 a.m. Yeah, I can't wait to see other people's theory on that. Could it be people getting out and selling their positions? But it happens after the close. I'm gonna have to study that more, look back in time. I could swear that there were times where the volume was consistent all through the overnight. On a regular basis, not just random days. I understand there might be days the Asian markets are not even open, or they're on vacation. All right, Russell. Definitely looking different. Getting a little hyped over here in the Russell about the close, or about the cuts coming. I made a prediction yesterday that we would bounce off this area here, previous month's high, because we had the day before and the day before, and then opened and we washed right past it, bouncing off of a seemingly random area, but enough that it would have washed out any stops. So completely wrong in that sense. But seeing this, I wouldn't have entered a trade there anyway. Seeing how it just completely washed through, and it would have had to hang on there like it did here. This would have been a good trade at in the afternoon yesterday and in the overnight. But in the overnight, the Russell held above yesterday's close and seems to be making an attempt right now at yesterday's opening range high. The Dow recovering a little bit. Man, yesterday in the Dow was back and forth. I had too many things yesterday to catch up on at home. I placed a few trades. Didn't really make a whole lot of money. I made money in the stock market, the regular stock market, but that's not what I focus on. In my mind, if I want to become a good, consistently profitable trader, futures is where it's at, and scalping. I'm not closed to changing that idea and evolving my trading, but it just makes sense on many levels. All right, what else? Make an attempt again at previous month's high. Right at the open, bit of a double tap there. Rejection of the opening range low. I think I already said that. I don't think I would have traded this much. You could see price just sweeps past a bit too easy. This is what you want, clean hits. That doesn't always happen. Looks like we'll gain some ground here, at least momentarily. Gold. Gold trending down in the overnight, which is rich. It's real rich. I was shorting gold day and a half ago, and it just kept gaining. So it's only right that now it collapses. I mean, should have known that with the FOMC. My opinion is that people will be maybe taking money out of gold in anticipation of a rate cut. It stopped for a little bit at yesterday's low. Recovered some and is now approaching it again. That'd be a good short right there, maybe. Relative strength shows that it might break through. I made a vow to stay away from gold for a little while. I have much better luck with oil. Which oil in the overnight, yeah, I'll go over my trades now. This was yesterday morning. I put on a longer term trade. Wait, I thought that was a loser. Yes, it was. Alright, the arrows aren't showing up properly. Maybe it wasn't. Yeah, and it's not showing my short from last night. Alright, I'm going to ignore that for now. I don't know. I can't show my trades if they don't show up correctly. I know I made a short last night and I covered this morning. And I made back what I lost on this trade, which right now is showing as a profit, which it definitely wasn't. I shorted pretty sure I shorted down here when price was at previous month's close. And then it covered up here. It's just not showing. I don't know. We'll forget that for now. I will work on in the future of a better way of presenting my trades. I'll go over why I entered the trade, why I exited the trade, and what I did wrong, what I did right. I think it's important. New traders should not copy trades exactly. But it's interesting to see how someone else trades. I guess to gain the confidence, to learn methods. You're going to have to find your own way one way or another. My favorite books to read are the Market Wizard books. But when I first read them as a beginner, I'd read about somebody's strategy and I'd be like, that's it, that's what I got to do. And I'd look into it. And nothing's a waste of time, but it was kind of a waste of time. You got to find your own strategy that you enjoy, your own method of work. Because it should be work, that's for sure. Anyway, oil it's trended down slowly in the overnight. Seems to be rejecting yesterday's close. Did not reject the previous month's close. Reject. Did not go down past that. Which is why I covered. I was suspect that we would return back down to 62, or 63 rather. We might remain up here for some time, like we have in the past. I'll look into that a little bit more later, but which is why I covered for small profit. I've been recording all my futures trades since April, since I started using real money. and I'm profitable, but not yet comfortable enough to increase my contract size and my rate of trading. And even after doing the math, even if I increase my contract size by tenfold, I wouldn't be making a great living. I'd be making an okay living. But that should be celebrated. Why not? I'd be happy making a good enough living at trading, doing what I enjoy. All right, let's take a look at FOMC. There's not much to be said, but let's take a look at it. That will be at 2 p.m. this afternoon. Bloomberg usually does a thing on it. Not really worth watching. Not a big fan of Bloomberg. I used to watch it, but then I realized they say nothing. Their entire job is to say nothing all day. Anyway, enough about that. Let's take a look at Fed Watch. There's a higher percent chance now of a 0.5 point cut. Than there was yesterday. If Google worked like it used to, I could look up how often in the past that the Fed surprised. It has happened. I think Europe did it last year. They surprised. Everybody thought they were going to raise the rate and they cut, or something like that. And it was one of those, once a year opportunities to make money. I always seem to miss those. Let's see what happened October's meeting. I think that's up from yesterday. If I was smart, I would screenshot these and compare them. Yeah, why don't I? I'm gonna. Ah, damn it, I have to figure out how to do it with 3 monitors open. Put it on the list. Anyway, October, I think that went up. So this would be, if a rate cut happens today of a 1/4 point, this would be another 1/4 point. I'm sorry, this would be no cut in October. This would be a chance of another 1/4 point in October. And in December, another 1/4 point is factored in. Yeah, I really want to see how they change day by day. I keep all sorts of records like that, different changes. Some of it, I guess some of it's valuable. Some of it I figured out how to incorporate in my trading. Others are just interesting, and I think this falls into that just interesting group. That's that. Let's take a look quick at key levels for today. And get moving. Like I said, I got to work today. I will not be trading. Eventually, I would like to trade live on stream. Once I get, I bought a stream deck to set up all the trade buttons on. I make too many mistakes on the keyboard. And it's easier. Once I have that set up and I'm used to it and I practice enough in Sim, I'll do some scalping live. Why not? I'll show you how I lose money, and I won't lie about it. And if I make money, well, heck yeah. All right, key levels for today in the ES. Again, I would say disregard a lot of this because FOMC is going to cause large amounts of volatility in all sorts of directions. I'm hoping it's a positive outlook, but let's pretend it is positive. Where might price stop after that? Well, we have the R2 pivot point up here at 67.59. It could go up there. I don't know. If we head down, we have the R1 pivot point. But if they don't cut, let's just say they don't cut at all, I'd say we'd whiplash down all the way to previous month's high and maybe even previous month's close. And usually when price, in my experience, FOMC, it doesn't respect these levels exactly, but it gets pretty close. So you might see price whiplash below it, but it will be on low volume. Essentially, you'll see it stop at these areas. But that could be totally wrong altogether. Who knows? While I'm thinking about it, let's take a look at past FOMC dates. I did that a little bit yesterday just to see what kind of volatility you get. And it's kind of hard to tell with futures because of the contract changes. In the continuous contracts, geez, I'm glad my broker wasn't connected. The continuous contracts, because they have to account for the different price changes, they can misrepresent large changes in price on FOMC days. But let's take a look anyway and compare it to the SPY. Again, I love how TradingView just opens up your brokerage page for no reason. Yeah, this is a mess. Let's get rid of... Nah, let's keep it. Let me bring up a calendar. I'm not going to look at the other futures key areas for today. I don't have time. I'd rather look at this. That's the main topic of the day, FOMC. Take a look at how price reacted in the past, what kind of range it had. There you go. Wikipedia has a great page. History of Federal Open Market Committee actions. And it gives a reckoning of all the changes. So this would be the first rate cut of the year. He pretty much came out and said he's going to do it. So we'll see. I don't know if they show in this list surprises. The emergency action, they note that. That, of course, is a whole different thing altogether. But let's just take a look at last year. September, November, and December. No, just September and November we had a rate cut. No. So we went from, yeah. Started with a half a point. Then a quarter, then a quarter. Yep, that would equal 4.5. So let's check out what September 18th, 2024. There you have it. Not much. Is that right? Do they have the right date? Because I know... Let me take a look. Like today's meeting, they meet yesterday into today. But the decision comes out today. So does Wikipedia post? Let's take a look at July 29th, 30th. Okay, yeah, they post the right date. Yeah, so September 18th, as you can see. Not a whole lot of excitement at a half a point, but running up to it was considerable. Now let's see the SPY, which will give us a better representation of it. Let me hide my million indicators. September 18th. A little bit different. I don't know if I was looking at that right. More range than the previous day, but nothing crazy. But again, the build up to it. I'm assuming around the 6th. I don't remember at the time. I would say around the 6th probably hinted that there'll be a cut. Sort of the same timeline as current day. But then November 7th. Let's see the reaction to another cut. Again, running up to it was good. But as you can see on the 7th, let me zoom in a bit. The range wasn't huge. I think you get a lot of volatility, but you don't get a very large range like you do when the president opens his mouth. All right, 18th. Now the 18th was big. That was the last cut we've had. That is interesting. So, like everything in trading, it's a mixed bag. Again, that's not looking back a whole lot. Let's take a look at a day that's normal, that there's no change. January 29th. Of this year. Not a huge range. March 19th. Again, not a huge range. So it really does depend. Let's take a look at a rate increase going all the way back to July 26, 2023. Yeah, not much. Now the lead up to it was negative. Was that an increase? Yeah, that was an increase. Another increase. Let's go all the way back to July 27th, 2022. You can see quite a bit of volatility there, but not completely unusual. And even though 27th, 2022, they increased a whole 3/4 of a point. At least that's the way I'm reading this. You look right here. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's 3/4 of a point. And then another 3/4 of a point. Let's take it June 15th and July 27th. So July 27th, market reacted positive. I'm guessing, I don't know. It's hard to know exactly what was going on then without a lot of research. June 15th. Yeah, I could see that as a larger range. But compared to 2 days before, not more volume. So I think what's more important about FOMC is leading up to and then afterwards. I think in light of that, I won't flatten my longer term trades. I'll just watch and see what happens, follow the plan. My original plan never incorporated FOMC actions. But as they become more and more important, in the age of inflation, I've considered it. Alright, I'm just going to go real quick over key levels, key areas, mostly for myself. I went over the ES real quick. NASDAQ pretty much the same. If we head higher, we got yesterday's high. And then beyond that, the pivot point at 24,964. If we head lower, we have previous month's high at 24,301. Also pretty close to the pivot point R1. If we really tank, we're looking at previous month's close. I mean, it's not beyond possibility that they just decide not to cut at all. I was kind of surprised, as everyone else, that Powell was considering a cut. I figured he'd really hold on. Now, Russell. The Russell is pretty sensitive to anything rate related because a lot of the companies in the Russell benefit greatly from low interest rates. Whereas larger companies can get a preferable rate just because of their size. But if we head higher, we have the current month high, which was made last Thursday. If we head lower, we have yesterday's low, which surprised me, and then previous month's close beyond that at 23.87. Again, if there is someone watching and you want to know all the levels that I mark, feel free to join our Discord. Link is in the description. There's nobody there right now except me and a couple bots. Who I think are bots, I don't know. Feel free to ask. It's just basic. I did quite a lot of research and study on, say quite a lot, depends what you think of as quite a lot. Just in my experience over time, those seem to be the levels that price respects. Price will pivot, price will halt there. Good places for scalping. Sometimes great places for longer term trades, as long as there's confirmation. But I use previous day high, low, close, previous month's high, low, close, current month high, current month low. I also use 9:30 session open, opening range high, opening range low set at 10 a.m. I use the pivot points. I just use the basic indicator on TradingView. It plots them for you. Pivot points are just a calculation of, this would be considered previous month's open, high, low, close, I think. Something to do with a ratio of that or a calculation of that. What else do I use? I use 50 SMA, 100 SMA, and 200 SMA on the daily only. I then plot that over to my 5-minute chart. What else do I use? I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. Those are my key areas. It's easy every single day. It's easy to write them down and track them. I don't have to. You can find them yourself. You can find different areas of resistance and support, which is what they are, essentially. But it's just much easier to track those levels because price will often respect them. All right, the Dow. If we head higher, we're looking at current month high at 46,505. If we head lower, we're looking at previous month's close at 45,936. Again, pretty simple. Gold. I'm staying away from gold for some time. This drop was a long time coming. Fooled me pretty good. I figured, I think it was Monday I placed that trade. I don't know. Every trade could have been a winner if you just increased the stop by X amount. But that's not how you win. Anyway, if we head higher, I don't think it's going to happen today. I think we are now falling lower. If you look at the 5-minute, I'm going to say we're going to reject yesterday's low. but I'm not convinced enough to trade it. And also because I told myself I'm going to stay away from gold for a while. All right, oil. So recently I said, I've been saying it for quite a while now, 63. There's something about it. Acts as a magnet, as well as 64 and 62. Just round numbers in general. But I think governments around the world want oil at this general area. Price will often head back there after extending to another area. You would call that mean reversion, with 63 as the mean. I said yesterday that price would likely bounce off of previous month's close. It did not. I originally placed a trade there, lost, and then placed another short at around yesterday's close. That I made some money. I took profits early because I saw that oil was unlikely to decrease further beyond yesterday's close, or no, previous month's close, which is at 64, almost 64 exactly, 64.01. You can see why it is a major area. I'm getting more and more interest in oil, trading oil. I feel you can scalp it pretty good. But the problem is sometimes news events can cause it to whiplash quite a lot. And I've had, I don't know why, maybe it's just chance, but I think I've had oil stops, orders in general, stops and profit targets not trigger in oil. Whereas, yeah, I'm not trading huge volume, and oil is very liquid. And I'm not on some prop firm that tries to steal from people. So, I don't know how to explain it. I do know that TradingView has this weird option. I don't like it. I wish they would change it. I wish they would let you make it global. But I've looked into it, and that wasn't the thing. Anyway, the option is, when you go to place a trade, it says something about aftermarket stops, or aftermarket hours stops. Well, you have to check a box if you want the stop to activate after hours, and other than normal trading hours, which I think is ridiculous. Why? The times when you would want that would be rare. I would think you would have to check a box to make that not happen. But anyway, that screws up everything, because what happens if I enter a keyboard shortcut order? Which way does it go? How do you know if your stop's going to activate if you enter a shortcut? Who knows? Who knows if that order will activate after hours? I know you can make default orders, but what if you have no defaults, if you set no defaults? Because sometimes I like to do that, because their default system and with their orders is screwed up. It's very screwed up. For some reason it changes on every chart. Like if I set oil to have an oil order, and then I switch to the ES will have my oil order default. It needs work. Or maybe I just need to get used to it. I don't know. But I've definitely had large losses based on just not my stop not getting filled because of not checking that box or checking that box or doing a keyboard shortcut and not realizing that it wasn't checked. You should be able to go into the options, say all trades, all orders, you know what I mean. You should be able to just check a box and have it apply to all your orders. And if you want it to be not applied for a specific order, then in the order window have that. I think I just need to switch to Sierra charts. But I've got enough work on my plate. And TradingView is good enough. Anyway, I don't know where I was going. It seems like oil's going to stay above previous month's close for now. The next level above that is the 200 simple moving average. That'd be a good stopping place to look out for. Price might slow up around yesterday's close or yesterday's high. I don't know. If we get beyond there, I'd be looking for anywhere to short it back down to last month's close or 63. We shall see. All right, that's all I got. 2 minutes till open. I don't have time to trade today. It upsets me greatly. And it looks like I had 4 views. Probably scared him away immediately. All right, goodbye.